Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper. Recently, I made a post, and let me read it, ADHD and Social Anxiety, a lived experience. And I was sharing my personal experience where I had started a band during COVID, and we did a live gig at a pool during Cinco de Mayo in 2023. And we got up and we were playing Elvis Presley song, Can't Help Falling in Love. And I was picking notes on that particular piece, and I've never actually played that song without making a mistake. And during the song, I was self-absorbed in myself and getting a lot of anxiety and messing it up, thinking everybody was watching me, when I looked out in the crowd and saw everybody was dancing and nobody was paying attention to me. And I had a person comment on that post about it. Thank you for their perspective. And started talking about general anxiety disorder. And I thought I would kind of comment on anxiety disorder from a coach's perspective. I think if you talk to a therapist or a psychologist, you'll get a different opinion. But ADHD is an executive function and impairment, okay? And part of executive functions is emotional self-regulation. And with our emotions, I think of it as a reflexive reaction. There's actually no pause. If you trip, your arms will automatically reach out to brace your fall. That's an automated response, a reflexive response. A lot of times people with ADHD struggle with emotional self-regulation, and when they get in a situation, they will react to it emotionally and have a lot of anxiety. So the way I like to describe this is, imagine you're sitting there with somebody and you tell them a joke and they don't laugh, or you're with a group of people and they don't laugh. Well, you might sit there and feel some anxiety over that, and actually feel maybe rejected as a result of their reactions. Well, here's the trick. The ADHD brain in this situation is reflexively emotional, and you jump to those conclusions. If you look at the situation, if you actually stop and pause and think about what are the possibilities why they might not have laughed at my joke, you might begin to realize is that maybe they don't have your sense of humor. That's not a rejection. That doesn't mean they like you. It's just a difference in style, right? That's a simple thing that I just described, but often a lot of social anxiety is because people are not really stopping and thinking about what's kind of going on. They're reflexively judging themselves. And so when you do that, the more you judge yourself and crawl inside your head and not realize that everybody else is more oblivious, or maybe there's legitimate reasons what's going on. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they're not in a joking mood or whatever. You can begin to realize is that a lot of times you're feeling some anxiety and negativity because you're projecting it back on yourself. How do you manage that? Self-awareness. There's really not a way around that. You have to pause and kind of catch yourself reflexively going to that. There's a quote that I love. Thinking is difficult. That's why people judge. In the situation where you tell a joke and maybe they don't laugh, it's more difficult for you to think, well, maybe we have a different style or sense of what humor is, as opposed to you jump to conclusions and just judge yourself individually. Being aware of that and pausing and override it is really the challenge of this. And if you take a look at most therapy, CBT, coaching, basically it's everybody. It's like, look at yourself in the face and stop and think about what's going on. So I hope this is some awareness that will help you begin to manage it. Certainly when I was playing the guitar, I was getting all caught up in myself, and I looked out, fortunately, and saw a bunch of people dancing and became aware that nobody's listening to me. Nobody has a clue what's going on, which, by the way, is a really good thing when you're in a band. You can mess up and all the other instruments mute you a little bit, and nobody hears you as much as you think. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for the viewer that made the post. If you're new to our channels, hit the subscribe button. Also, your thoughts on this, share your experience. Have you had social anxiety and been able to overcome it, if you will? If so, how? Also, we do what we do for you. So if you were so inclined, please hit the thanks button. We certainly appreciate a contribution. With that, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.